Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Fantastic Mr. Podcast. In this episode, we're talking about Batman, specifically the new animated show, Batman the Caped Crusader. So from here on out, spoiler alert. So sit back, relax, and let's get down with our favorite bat. All right, so today we're talking about Batman the Caped Crusader, the new animated show that just premiered, like a couple weeks ago, I think. And we watched all 10 episodes, so there is going to be a spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it yet. But this is the newest show created by Bruce Timm, who did Batman the Animated Series. So before we get into all the details, let's just start with what did you guys think? Zach, what do you think?
I loved the show. It took a similar but different approach, if that makes any sense. Wasn't trying to replicate completely the beauty of the Batman animated series that premiered back in '92. I remember watching it religiously as a kid. Fox Kids as the network that it aired on. But the Caped Crusader had appealed, I think, to both youth and adults. So those that grew up with the original animated series and those that perhaps are a bit new to the character of Batman, and had capture this nice detective based perspective of the Batman that we've started to see a little bit more of.
Detective perspective. Sorry.
When it comes to, that's a good one. When it comes to at least Matt Reeves's the Batman, and how Robert Pattinson's portrayal's a lot more focused on the detective work of the Batman, the world's greatest detective for a reason. So I think it did a great job at showing those aspects. I like the overall vibe, kind of a noir-esque vibe throughout. And when it came to the setting, certainly an alternate timeline of the 1940s or late 40s, social aspects, certainly. Different characters we'll go into, I'm sure, a little bit more in depth as far as villains being changed, which controversial for some, but for me, it was a massive deal. It was kind of getting a little disappointing to have a kind of a villain of the week type of situation going on with 10 episodes, and some characters just falling short. I felt like they could have lasted a little bit longer in future seasons. Harvey Dent being one, but I could understand I could understand the story behind it, but I would have liked some of these characters to last longer, since in the animated series, a lot of these villains did, or you saw them in more than one episode and more than one season. So that's kind of my quick take of the Caped Crusader. And I loved Hamish Linklater, the guy who voiced Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah. What about you, Jake?
Man, I love your opinion on that, Zach, because I'm really excited to have this conversation because I was incredibly disappointed with it. Um, Man, and we can go deeper into the conversations with it, but on its front, it felt like, at least to me, and that being said, I'm not a huge Batman fan. Like, I haven't been obsessed with it my entire life. But it felt like a very cheap, heavy-handed version of the character. I had a lot of problems with it, namely being it just felt very shallow to me. Like all the characters felt very one note, very villain of the week, as you said, and I feel like they had potentially a good uh I can see the perspective they were trying to go with, and it may have been because the short amount of episodes that they had to work with, but it felt like they hit the audience very hard with their opinions and what they were trying to get across. And so if on initial watch, it felt like it was a almost like a political piece, which I know that's a huge criticism that a lot of the talking heads out there have, which of course now we're one of them. But if you go on YouTube, they're like, "Oh, Batman's woke," blah 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 blah, and people had huge problems with the race swapping things like that. I don't have any problems with that stuff. Uh, it just felt like it was very heavy-handed, and it took all the mystery out of it for me. Uh, initially, I was really disappointed. I've since thought about that, and I feel like I have some nuanced thoughts to go with that. But on initial reaction, I was like, man, this is kind of meh.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the same camp with you, Jake. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't the whole penguin gender swap and then,
I
Harley.
didn't care. Like I
Harley
get why they did, and I don't care about that. Sorry, I
yeah,
interrupted you.
it's okay. It's okay. I am okay with it. I don't like that she was like this huge woman, She was very tall, very like brutish. I'm like, if you're gonna make her a woman, make her like, I don't know. It was that part was a little off putting for me, but what it's really weird. I have very mixed feelings for this show. I like the aesthetic a lot. I like, one thing I noticed in the last episode that they still have payphones and it was a rotary phone, So I was like, that's pretty cool. But like, um, with like giving us these big villains, these big Batman villains in the very first episode, Penguin specifically, Harley Quinn, Two Face, right? You get these three huge Batman villains and they're killed off.
Yeah.
In the first season, that part I was really excited for Two Face too because he lasted a few episodes, Two Face and Harvey Dent, and then Harley Quinn, I was excited for her too. I was reading and they decided to kind of to flip her personality compared to her older personalities, where she's very serious as Dr. Quinzel, but then she turns to Harley Quinn and she's kind of jokerish.
Mm.
Where in this one, she's kind of goofy as Dr. Quinzel, which I noticed because I thought, oh man, that's only going to exacerbate when she becomes Harley Quinn, right? No, it was complete opposite. But I enjoyed that Harley Quinn. Like it didn't bother me one bit. And like you're talking about, Jake, with the wokeness of it, like that didn't. I mean, like the way I see it is, it's 2024. Things are going to be woke. It's just how it is. Like I've been watching that 90s show, right? And it's a complete diverse group of friends, right? But in the 90s, it wasn't like that. You didn't have all these different races hanging out together. You just didn't. It's not, well, for one thing, I went to an all white school. So that's probably why I didn't notice that. But, it's just things are going to be woke and you're just going to have to deal with it, whether it bothers you or not. In this case, in any case, it doesn't really bother me. It's the content that I'm looking for. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, because I have really mixed feelings. Like there was parts that I really enjoyed, like the Harley Quinn episode, the last episode, especially the last frame, which we'll talk about, or last little scene, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I don't know. I agree with you, Zach, with the villain of the week thing. And then they're just like, not like that ghost person. I read was supposed to be like a villain of Hawkman originally.
Oh,
I'm
what?
like, oh, that's why it sucks, because it's a Hawkman villain. I was reading the trivia on IMDb and it said that let me look it up. It's right here. But yeah, it was talking about the Gentleman Ghost is originally a Hawkman villain with no connections to Batman. And so, just that kind of turns me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just some villains that I was like, it kind of reminded me of the show, and I've talked about this show a few times on this show. Beware the Batman, and it kind of followed suit with, but instead of like giving us all these big villains, they didn't give us any, right, and that was okay. But it was just like villains I'd never heard of and stuff like that, and that's okay. But those villains were interesting, regardless if they're getting killed off every week. These really weren't that interesting. So yeah, I just have, it's hard to kind of like, I'm excited to see what comes next if there is another season. But I like it. and I don't like it. I don't know how to explain it. Like
You
Yeah,
think
very
it
mixed
feels
feelings.
you think it feels surface level in some way?
yeah, I think
In what
so.
way?
Well, because of the whole like the most we get out of a villain is Harvey Dent, right? And
Yeah, that was
his
interesting.
I was going to say his
To learn about his story.
his like whole arc in that first season was interesting because he is Harvey Dent, he is the DA, he is kind of a jerk, but he still like believes in justice, kind of whatever. And then he becomes Two-Face, and he starts killing people, and then he realizes he's not a good part. Like he's very like back and forth, which is what Two-Face is. He's very back and forth until the other face takes over. But he was a lot more complex than most of the characters on this show, including like Barbara Gordon and even Bruce Wayne. He was a little more complex than Bruce.
I felt like Batman was kind of in the back seat for many
Yeah,
of these episodes. He wasn't really the focus, nor was Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It was more Barbara Gordon and her relationship with Montoya and her father, Gordon. And when you saw Batman, sometimes it was kind of a, oh, there you are, he's here.
yeah,
But the scenes that we do get to see Batman, I think they're awesome. I like the fact that one of the episodes where I think it was the first one, perhaps, where Bruce Wayne has to fake that he enjoys being with people, being the billionaire uh, rich dude, and on the boat, and he has to mingle, but he like puts on a smiley face all of a sudden. It kind of
yeah.
you really don't see that in other media of Batman. I feel like Christian Bale's kind of did that a little bit, but he just came across as too much
Playboy.
of a playboy, and it was kind of annoying. But this one, he really just doesn't really like being with other people. He'd rather be doing
Batman.
thing.
Yeah. Which they say Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is the person.
Yeah, and in the Matt Reeves Batman trilogy, or I think it's probably a trilogy, that universe, I'm hoping we get to see more of that Playboy side coming to life, which we haven't seen it yet. But I want to see him faking it at least, kind of like we saw in the Caped Crusader. That's something I was like, that's not something we really saw in the animated series.
Yeah, him like
recollection,
almost physically hurting to be Bruce Wayne, kind of. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay, so go ahead.
I preferred let's just talk about the voice for a second.
Sure.
I preferred the Bruce Wayne over the Batman voice. To be honest. I feel like there's something odd about Hamish's way of speaking the Batman voice. I don't know. Maybe as I'm thinking of Kevin Conroy, and it sounded a little bit more like Kevin Conroy when he just was playing Bruce Wayne, Hamish. That was fantastic, but his Batman was kind of monotone, and it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, I read that he apparently was obsessed with the animated series and Kevin Conroy, and he said he like tried not to be, but it's hard not to be. It's like voicing the Joker, right?
Yeah,
it's hard not to be Mark Hamill because of his portrayal, but and it's kind of the same with Kevin Conroy. It's hard not to try to imitate them because they were like the goats, if you will.
The voices are so ingrained.
Yeah, and then like just from playing all those Batman games and stuff, it's like if I had to voice Batman, I'd want to sound like Kevin Conroy. I don't know if I could get away with it with my normal voice. So I like the voice. I like the Batman voice actually. I like so the thing about Kevin Conroy's Batman voice, I like his of course is the best, and it's very like it's not growly, doesn't sound like it's growling, or he's just kind of deepening his regular voice, and that's kind of what this guy does, and that's kind of what Robert Pattinson does. It's just kind of like just adds a little bit of gravel, if you will, to their normal voice, make it deeper.
Yeah.
And I like that. Whereas Christian Bale went a whole other direction, and like even Ben Affleck kind of did that. It was just make it just a little bit deeper and add a little bit of grittiness to it.
Fry.
Whereas, Christian Bale's like the way he is. It's like
Where's the others?
Yeah, it's very trying to sound like a monster, right? So I kind of like his voice. Now it was a little monotone. I'll give you that, but like, I enjoyed his Batman voice. It was his Bruce Wayne voice that I didn't care for.
I was the
Yeah, I
same
preferred that.
way.
There was more inflection. I felt like with the Bruce Wayne voice, it felt more like the Batman animated series in terms of familiarity.
Yeah.
I was the
Right.
same way. It felt like for a lot of me, most of the episodes honestly felt very awkward. Like just the pacing and the relationships, the way that people interacted. And the only time it actually felt like a Batman animated series to me is when he was actually Batman. Like for me, all the interactions he had as Bruce Wayne, and the other characters felt very awkward and stilted. And then when he was Batman, it kind of felt like the episode finally figured out what it was doing. It's like, okay, now it's Batman. Now he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? Did you guys feel that way, or did you have a different experience?
Um, I do think it did take a little bit for them to find their footing. And I don't know if they still have, if they found it yet. You know, I was reading something of Kaylee Cuoco, who voices Harley Quinn in the Harley Quinn show, and how she would love to go back and do like revoice the first couple seasons because she finally figured it out at like season 3, her voice, the way she wants to portray Harley Quinn. And I think that's going to be what happens here is like maybe season 2, season 3, they'll finally, you know, start getting into those the way it's supposed to be. And this is just the first season. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I kind of I felt that way too a little bit, Jake, with the whole pacing of it all. It's just like it didn't take me out of it or anything, but it did. Some of it did feel kind of weird with some of the episodes.
What did you guys think about the relationship between Alfred and Bruce Wayne?
It seemed like
that was interesting.
It seemed like Alfred had just started working for him or something, like because he called him Pennyworth, right? And then at the end, he's like Penny Alfred, like because I didn't even notice it.
I like that development, to be honest.
It was interesting because when I heard him that clip he sent Zach, that was the first time I heard him say Pennyworth, and I didn't realize I guess he hadn't said Alfred in the entire show.
That's something that stood out to me since the beginning.
Yeah, I never noticed it until and then he was like, "Stop wasting my time, Pennyworth." And I'm like, why did he just call him Pennyworth? Like, but he's also just started being Batman, so maybe he just started having, or well, no, he couldn't have, because as a kid, he's like, I'm gonna do this. What does he say when he's a kid? He's like, I'm gonna get him. I don't know what he says, and you're gonna help me.
There was a lot of resentment I could tell from like between Bruce and like the personal relationship with Alfred. It wasn't like they were close and like buddies like they were in the like other forms of.
But why do you think that is?
I think regardless of when he started doing this season obviously is a catalyst for the Batman as we know it. And I think maybe that's where a lot of the stiltedness comes from. But I think for whatever reason, this is clearly like he might have been doing this for a while, but for whatever reason, this season is like a season of his life where he really starts to get it. And I think it's kind of represented in the way he interacts with the people around him.
But wasn't
Pennyworth being a great example of that.
Wasn't this, he had just started, right? Being Batman, Zach, like 2 weeks or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was very short time of being Batman. Like
it's hard to. I don't know if the show does the greatest job at showing that though, because he's skilled as can be. Batman.
He is.
He doesn't get knocked around too much.
That's why I like the Matt Reeves Batman, because like it shows Batman getting punched and like, whereas here, I mean, I think he does take a couple punches in this too,
but he takes licks.
But it just seems more
a big threat.
Well, it seems more
he seems too well put together to only be 2 weeks on the job.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought I had read, or Zach said something about it being, or maybe I think I read it, but it was only like 2 weeks after becoming Batman. But I could be wrong. Maybe it was a little bit longer. But he did say
premiere. You're 2 weeks on the job, and these psychos start showing up all of a sudden. Like, damn!
And this fantastical ghost shows up. Like, how do you know how to respond to that?
Yeah, it was I don't would have I probably have to do some research, but I thought I did read it was like very, very soon after becoming Batman when this show starts. And anyway, that's why I liked Matt Reeves Batman, because like, yeah, he was a badass, but he still took a bunch of punches. And he also, when he tried that little flight suit that he had in the movie and he like almost crashes it.
Yeah.
I thought that really added to the authenticity
and a lot of people felt distant from the Batman because of the, I guess, the detective focus.
I like that though.
And it just, a lot of people were not big fans of that.
And that stinks too, because like I really enjoyed it. Like I like it. You know, we were just talking about the Acolyte, right? And how, spoiler alert, apparently you get to see Darth Plagueis at the end of the show, and I was like, what the hell? Like I got excited because it's Darth Plagueis, man. Like I've heard about him, but I've never seen him.
If you watch the show fully, you'd feel it's shoehorned in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is. That's what they usually do.
That's why I felt like.
But you know, I forgot why I was talking about this. What were we talking about? I know I was talking about Darth Plagueis and Batman. Because okay, yeah, we were talking about Darth Plagueis being at the end of Acolyte, and I was like, and Zach showed me a book that goes more into Darth Plagueis, right? And then show me a book that goes more into the politics of the Trade Federation, all that. Not like, to me, in the prequel episode or prequel movies, that was interesting to me. Like, I guess I'm just into the boring stuff. I think I like the boring. Well, what people might perceive as boring.
People, perhaps.
Yeah. In something that where it doesn't really belong, right? So like, where we talk about politics and not Darth Vader, in Star Wars, and then we talk about the detective in Batman, but he is the world's greatest detective. Like, why wouldn't you have some detective work in there instead of just action? Which I have no problem with action. No problem with action, but I don't know. I just enjoy.
This wasn't an action cartoon,
not really.
Like the way it was in the animated series. It lacked the bombastic, like theatrical feel of the animated series, but people keep making the comparisons to the animated series, and I think rightfully so, since Bruce Timm's behind the project and they knew that these comparisons would be made.
And I actually think that did it a disservice, because if you are being called the spiritual successor of one of the greatest animated series ever made, and that series had 65 episodes in its first season, and you have to do the same thing in 10, like,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen at all. And
I haven't even finished the first season yet.
Yeah, and these expectations are so high for these people who grew up on Batman, and it's just not going to happen. And I think a lot of the stiltedness and heavy-handedness of the Caped Crusader comes from the fact that, for one thing, I don't know if they've already confirmed a season 2 or not, but when they were making this, they probably didn't have a confirmation of whether or not they're going to get a season 2. Streaming platforms are notorious of just making 1 or 2 seasons and then cutting off the creators without any warning. So they're at a huge disservice, a serious disadvantage when they're trying to plan these stories. Whereas, on Fox Kids Animated, it was one of their best series. Like, the creators at least had a solid, maybe not 100%, but like a solid, willing to bet money on it that they're going to have more seasons and they're capable of doing more.
Especially Fox Kids, because it's animated. Kids are watching this. Ratings are going to go up.
Saturday mornings, 6 a.m. every morning. Kids getting up, waking up their parents to go watch this.
There was more to stability in knowing where this animated series would go, I think, back in the day, whereas in the development of Caped Crusader, it didn't have a definite home. We didn't know which platform it would be on in the midst of the whole Warner Brothers situation.
And I think that contributes why they have a villain of the week, why they are so heavy-handed on this, because one of the things that was kind of disappointing for me watching it is it was a detective show, but there was never any mystery for me. Like, I knew from the very beginning. Okay, so like, he's the bad guy. They know each other. It's obviously going to be this themed, like, The only episode where I was like, what the heck is going on is with the rich ghost, whatever episode that was called. The night
Those
ride.
gentleman horse, whatever I just called them. It was
Yeah, the gentleman
gentleman,
horse rider. I was like, is
gentleman
this a
ghosts is what it's called.
and that was because I was like, is this a genuine ghost? I was like, are they actually doing
Yeah,
supernatural in this?
and
I
they
assumed
were.
it had to be some sort of, scientist. And so I was like, okay, so who's the scientist going behind this? And no, it was just a ghost. But that was the only episode I wasn't immediately like, oh, they're the villain. That's the villain. Um, and so for a lot of the series, it was like it was kind of disappointing because there was no intrigue. Whereas in the animated series, like you get jumped, like the first episode, the premiere is Catwoman like stealing, and you have no idea what's going on. She's like pulling a heist. There's no context why things are happening, and Batman has to figure it out. Like Batman doesn't know it's Selina. Like it's and they flirt, and there's motivation, and I think the animated series just had the benefit of having a longer runtime and a longer season to put
Yeah.
that nuance together, where the Cape Crusader didn't know whether or not they were going to have a second season. They're like, okay, if we're going to have these 10 episodes, let's hit let's hit the stops. Like, okay, we've got Batman, we got Harvey Two-Face, we got Selena, we've got, and then how do we tell these stories and keep them singular? Because we don't know if we're going to be able to flesh these stories out. And I think the fact that it was an Amazon series or streamed series honestly did the creators a huge disservice. And that's why I give it a lot of like initially my initial reaction was like this is super heavy-handed. And then I went back because I didn't want to just crap on it this whole time. So I went back and I was like, are there similar themes in the animated series? Like, are there actually, is this a real spiritual successor? So I went back and I watched, the animated series, and like the first episode, strong female protagonist or strong female antagonist together. It was Selena and then the Red Claw going at each other. Um, a lot of the same ideologies of like the rich versus the poor, strong female characters, like right and wrong. Like when you look at them, the bones, they both have the same bones. Is just Cape Crusader had to be a lot more heavy-handed with it because I honestly just don't think they had the time to have nuance.
Yeah. And they did more episodes to flesh characters and relationships out.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
maybe
know.
maybe they were
can't
like,
imagine it. I just can't imagine a animated series these days having like one season
Yeah.
having
10
60
episodes.
plus episodes.
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
The lack of depth in the animated or in the Cape Crusader compared to the animated series, the streaming service it's on, maybe not doing it the greatest service.
What are y'all's thoughts on the way that they put the episodes together? Do you feel like was it satisfying to you guys, or do you feel like it
The
needed
only
more?
really the only episode there were a few episodes I enjoyed. Yeah, but like it's just I don't know, man. Like I liked the very end. I did like that episode, even not just the very very end, but the last episode I enjoyed. Um, because it wasn't. I think it was like Batman, yeah, but and I don't know. It's just I don't care for Harvey Dent getting killed. That really sucked. But like I just
He died in
yeah, I
Dark
just
Knight.
I just don't care for in like I don't know. I've already said this, but we have these great villains, these great Batman gallery of villains that come into this show. I mean, the only one that survives is freaking Harley Quinn. Not Harley Quinn. I don't remember. She died. Did she die?
I think Harley Quinn actually
Quinn?
survived. She like called her detective friend and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember she calls Montoya, or I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember if she survived. She survives, and then Selena Kyle survives too, right?
Yes.
Which is great. But then you have just the whole. I don't know.
Clayface is gone. Harvey, Two Face is gone.
Yeah. Well, I almost was hoping that freaking Barbara Gordon would get shot, but then I was like, no, because Joker's the one that paralyzes her. Like, I don't want some rando freaking Flash to get the satisfaction of at least paralyzing her. But I don't know. I wish. Here's what I think: these live action shows that get hour long episodes and stuff. I'm okay with those being 10 episodes. I wish they were more, like whatever, but like animated shows, I feel like should get, even on streaming, should get at least like 15, maybe. Just
I was gonna,
something.
like, you need enough time to let them tell a story.
Well, I was 20 was going to be like, I almost said 20, but I'm thinking at least 15, like to be able to flesh out that world, because animated shows sometimes last a lot longer than live action. Examples, The Simpsons, but those are not that the stories don't continue in that, but still, you have these anime shows that are still on the air after 30 something years with South Park and Simpsons and Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and stuff. It's like, just give me 15 episodes or give me 20 episodes of this animated show, and I'm down. Like, I'm down for that. But like 10 episodes just wasn't enough. And it could have been, and like you were saying earlier, Jake, like it could have been because it's a streaming service and they didn't know if they were going to get a season two, so they're just kind of pulling out all the stops for season one,
or its budget, or
or
the
its
time
budget.
of the Warner Brothers merger and lots of uncertainty surrounding
Yeah.
properties. Well, I mean, that could be a part of it as well.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I think maybe it's a little bit of everything, like but I don't know, like some
they
of it
was
safe.
They played it safe.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's a potential for season 2 onward to have.
And
more
I bet you
depth.
If they do, they'll bring. I'm kind of hoping for this, but it'd be kind of weird is to bring Harvey Dent back somehow. Like, it's kind of like Phil Coulson in Agents of Shield. He survives from the Avengers. It's like
Somehow,
yeah, somehow. So maybe they'll do something like that, because he's really the only important villain that died, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought. So yeah, I don't remember. I don't really remember either. I mean, there's Clayface, but Clayface, who gives a crap about Clayface?
I like Clayface, man.
I like Clayface and Harley Quinn. He's really funny in Harley Quinn. There was one thing I saw that I was really excited about. It was whenever Barbara Gordon was in that whatever they call it, mental hospital, if you will, to go see Harvey Dent, and that one patient dropped his little stuffed pig. And I thought, that's Professor Pig right there. Like, it has to be, like, because he's obsessed with pigs and stuff. So I was kind of excited, little nod to Professor Pig. Yeah. And I was like, I really hope, because he's a strange character. I don't know if you guys know much about him, but he's like a surgeon, and he wears this pig mask, and he kind of snorts a lot. And he's in in one of the Batman games. And so he's an interesting villain. He's like a B or C villain for Batman, but still interesting. Same with like Calendar Man, guys that have an affinity for Calendar Man for some reason. And
what do you guys think about Firebug?
Firebug.
That was my favorite episode.
I just read that Firebug is his name in like the older comics. And then I guess it says Firefly is referred to as Firebug, a forgotten supervillain from Gold Age comics. So it might be. It doesn't sound like it's from Batman at all. He just calls himself Firebug, which is a stupid name.
I think that was my favorite episode. Like, the Harvey Dent's later episodes was really great, but for the one-off villains, I felt like that was the best one. I felt like that got the closest to representing Batman's like classic arsenal of just like broken characters doing broken things. Whereas the majority of the other episodes were either rich people being awful or people being awful to rich people. Does that make sense? Like, there was a lot of antagonism towards like the 1%ers in this episode, which again, I think is the heavy-handedness from the short runtime, but like it was real. It was like it hit me the first time like watching it, of like all the villains were either rich or they were very, very vocally like against like the minor characters, the side characters, everyone was kind of like rich people equals bad. Which I get the class warfare in Batman, but it was so heavy-handed. Um, like the episode with Nocturne, the vampire girl. Can't remember her actual name. Um, but like Bruce Wayne goes to like look after a little girl and gets the shit beat out of him by a bunch of carnies. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, I'm nobody, but I know who Bill Gates is. I know who Jeff Bezos is. Like, if he comes like running up to me saying he's looking for a little girl, I'm not gonna beat the crap out of him. Are these brain dead people? Like, it was just like that's not a real reaction that anyone would have on any conceivable level. I didn't understand it.
I just thought
So
those carnies were in with the professor or that scientist guy. Like that's how I
man,
felt.
maybe they were, but I don't feel like it. They didn't represent that well enough. Then it felt like they were just a bunch of carnies, and they thought he was like a pedophile or something. Where like, I mean, I know obviously that happens. I mean, looking at you, P Diddy, but uh, it just seemed weird. Whereas Firebug, that episode was like just a broken dude doing broken things, and Batman really had to like be his best to protect both himself and the people around him from this broken character.
Good points.
Yeah. So I was looking at the trivia, and the reason it's on Amazon Prime, like, because whenever we first started watching it, I was like, what? I looked for it on HBO Max and it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And the reason it's on there is because I think Warner Brothers Discovery has kind of stopped with the family friendly new content, and they're kind of shopping it away to other streaming services. That's why Amazon Prime has it as opposed to HBO Max. I thought that was interesting. What do you think about that? Like, here, let me just read to you what it says. It says, after the cancellation of the completely finished movie Batgirl with Michael Keaton returning as Batman, Warner Brothers Discovery continued with cancellation of DC properties. And I remember when all that happened, it was just like one cancellation after the other. The decision not to release Batman Caped Crusader on HBO Max was a part of a larger trend as parent company Warner Brothers Discovery largely divest from kids and family content, which was confirmed by a statement given by a spokesperson for HBO Max. Quote, live action kids and family program will not be a part of our programming focus in the immediate future, end quote. The DC Comics properties on the chopping block were Merry Little Batman and Young Justice Season 5 in August 2022. It was shipped away to other outlets such as Netflix, Apple TV, and Hulu, according to Variety, August 2022. On March 9th, 2023, it, along with Merry Little Batman, were picked up by Amazon for their streaming service Prime Video, according to Variety, March 2023. On April 26, 2023, it was announced that another Batman-related project titled Bat Family, which will follow the events of Merry Little Batman, will be released on the service. So what do you think of that? It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd rather have it just be on
a fantastic
Max.
little show, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I'd almost rather be on Max as well, so I can like all the DC content is just there.
Yeah, I mean another example of this happening is the series. I guess Kite Man. That's also,
but it's an adult show.
That's true, but it's animated. I mean, kids aren't going to tell the difference. I mean, I feel like there is some certainly a lot of adult themes in Caped Crusader. If we're talking gun violence and illusions of suicide and alcoholism and on the verge of swearing.
It is a little gray area, isn't it? Like, it's an animated show and kids could probably watch it, but like there are some adult themes in this show, so I don't know
more
why.
Adult than animated series.
Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised with this because I thought this was an adult oriented. Like the animated series was obviously made for kids, but I thought this one was made for adults to kind of be nostalgic for when they were kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was for children. I thought it was
Apparently
for
it's for
adults.
apparently
And
it's
they made it family friendly in case kids wanted to watch with the adults.
yeah, family friendly.
Who
So
knows?
anyway, yeah, I thought that was interesting. So now, anything that we that's announced that is gearing toward family friendly ish, we can kind of just assume it's not going to be on HBO Max or excuse me Max. And then the more adult centered stuff is going to be on Max, which is kind of lame, but what are you going to do? Like we're not.
So like so the James Gunn DCU animated shows, are those going to be all considered family friendly? Probably not. I mean, Creature Commandos, that's quite adult, I'd think. I mean, it's kind of a Suicide Squad esque in terms of humor, but you think they're going to want to afford to put some of the new DC shows for this new universe on?
That's a good question.
On Prime versus Max. I think maybe there's more subscribers for Prime, so they might do that. Who knows?
I don't know. I like Max. I like Max a little better than Prime. I hardly ever use Prime until I watch the show, and then The Boys, and like I actually think I want to start watching The Rings of Power, just because it's Lord of the Rings. But I don't know. I used Max a lot more, and I was kind of bummed out when found out it wasn't on there, and I was like, oh, I have to go to Prime now, which is fine. Yeah. I have a subscription to Prime. It doesn't take that long to get to Prime. I just don't use Prime. It's those first world problems, am I right? So
it doesn't have the right user interface.
It really doesn't.
And you can't remove live programs from continued watching. I hate unable to remove things that I want.
You watch NBC once and it's up there forever.
Like Sky News is like forever going to be there. But the thing is,
okay,
I don't use Prime very much except for this show.
Neither do I.
I watch it all the freaking time because it's the only one with Paw Patrol.
Lame. I mean, oh, that's cool. That's so cute.
Paw Patrol. Sorry.
So I want to just talk specifically about the intro to the show. What did you guys think of the intro?
Forgettable.
Really?
The music is what's forgettable to me.
You're talking about the opening credits, right?
Right. Yeah.
The montage from different scenes. Yeah.
I liked it.
I like the aesthetic. The music's okay. But I do really like.
Time.
I don't. But I have a thing for like opening credit sequences. I love opening credit sequences. Yeah. And that's why it bugs me whenever it's just like the title. Like with Lost, it's just the title. Or Breaking Bad, it's just a title. Like I like watching full sequences, and so I like this. I do wish the music was a little different, although I do like the music. I just don't know if it's good for this opening credit sequence. But I do like the aesthetic. I kind of like the grainy black and white TV type aesthetic that it gives.
The neo-noir 1930s part.
Totally.
Yeah,
they should got them all the way in.
Sorry, Zach. I actually prefer the intro of the Caped Crusader to the intro of the animated series.
Definitely do not. But go ahead.
Well, if you're portraying Batman as like this investigator and detective, I feel like the Caped Crusader certainly portrays that a lot better than the animated series. The animated series is fun. Certainly, I think it has better music, but the animated series is like more action, him fighting bad guys, and then the Caped Crusader is like him doing detective work, going through.
Yeah, but to get people's attention, to want to watch the show. I mean, which one's going to make you more interested?
But they'll also
which one's going to capture your attention?
They'll also do just what you do, Zach, and skip it.
Yeah,
they'll just go straight to the show.
Batman animated series is a lot better in terms of to get you excited about the show.
I think that's kind of what
it has. Danny Elfman licks the score from the Burton trilogy.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on screen, whereas the Caped Crusader is going for what it's going for. But the neo noir esque thing, I understand that, but to get people's attention, like especially youth, I mean, I think they're just gonna look on their phone until the
show starts.
Starts. I mean, at least with animated series, you have a lot of audio triggers going on. You have fights happening. It just a lot more bombastic, and you have a great score. And
yeah,
even Even Matt Reeves' Batman. I felt like I'm not a big fan of the score, but
I
I know
love
the
the score.
theme as an Imperial March type of theme. But again, it's nothing like the classical symphonic score of what I like and prefer, which is more of the Danny Elfman um, style of music, which I'm hoping James Gunn brings back at least for the Superman.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's
Tired of the doom and gloom and depression when it comes to music in one two tone in notes. And we bring back classical style of music with symphonies and real instruments, not synth. And if they did, I think one thing I would change for the montage of the Caped Crusader would, if they're going for the noir esque situation, then go full in with some nice trumpet music and I don't know, some nice calming tones. I don't know.
Casablanca stuff.
Yeah, they could have done a little bit more by easing into that. And some of the background music you heard in this show, it was very forgettable as well. Unless you're talking about the in universe uh, music, like the kind of the jazz and with in the clubs and such. But that was nice to kind of evoke. Hey, remember we're in the 40s here. But other than that, it was very forgettable the music
Mm-hmm.
and on audio in general.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Jake is trying to say, and I kind of agree with it. It's like there's two different like people watching these shows, and I think the animated series was for kids, right? And so the intro is made for children, whereas this I think is made. But I do agree that people are probably going to look at their phones or just skip through it because it is like I like the visuals. I don't care for the music. I mean, like I said, on its own, it would sound. I think it would sound great. Just but with this, I don't know. I kind of felt kind of weird. But I did like the visuals. So I mean, I would love to have some of those visuals on my wall. You know.
Yeah.
So, um,
I think the biggest difference for me, like I was talking with my wife about it, like what made the biggest difference between these two, especially when we talk about Caped Crusader being a spiritual successor to the animated series. The animated series was was adult stories made for children. They had these adult themes. They had these adult themes, but very strict guidelines. And so they had to be very clever. And that resulted in very intentional, well-made storytelling. So it's adult themes brought down to a child's understanding. Whereas the Caped Crusader is an adult show made to be family friendly that you could potentially bring the kids in to watch. And so the animated series has this depth to it, I think, because of the combination of the themes they wanted to tell combined with the way they had to tell it. Whereas the Caped Crusader, I'm not going to say that they're cheap, but they did not have the creative restrictions that the animated series did. And as we all know, um, you know, restrictions breed creativity. It breeds like I'm not gonna say perfection, but it breeds success because it forces you to go about things at a different angle.
yeah.
When if you don't have to do that, it is a lot easier to take the simpler route, which ultimately is a disservice to the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I guess we can probably start wrapping up, but I do want to talk about one thing. Unless you guys, before we talk about this one thing, do y'all have anything else you want to say?
What did you think of Alfred's aesthetic? Kind of
I was
harkening
surprised he
back to
was
the
fat.
early days of the comics. That kind
Yeah,
of what stuck out to me right away.
yeah,
More
I
plump.
didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. Like he's always been portrayed
He
as this
doesn't have
old.
gray hair. He
Yeah,
has
well, I was
black
just
hair.
gonna say he's always portrayed as this old skinny guy, and
Yeah.
like now he's kind of a younger,
You know, a young
big,
fat dude.
Yeah, younger, chunkier
Well-fed.
dude. But like, yeah, I didn't mind it. I kind of liked him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to how Bruce Wayne relationship develops
Yeah,
with
me too.
Alfred, but or not no longer just Pennyworth. It's he's calling him Alfred now. So I'm always interested in that, and I feel like that in the Batman, I really didn't get a nice sense of a bond between Andy Serkis's Alfred and Bruce. I feel like they're kind of distant, but maybe it's the intention.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
Uh,
was.
yeah, I don't mind Alfred like this. And I am interested. I'm really interested to figure out and watch their relationship unfold. Hopefully there's a season 2 so we can do that and kind of see where else the show goes as far as all that. But so I want to talk about the last scene of the show.
Joker
with the Joker.
Was it what's his name, Mister something DiMaggio? He's voiced one of the Jokers.
He has voiced one of the Jokers, but Joe DiMaggio. He voices Bullock in this show.
That's cool.
And I don't know if you know, he also voices like Jake from Adventure Time, and he voices Bender from Futurama. So he has a deep scruffy voice, and he's voiced the Joker before. And I don't know, I like because all you hear the Joker say at the end is he's like perfect, and it's a deeper voice. And I was like, oh sweet, we always and we always have these high pitched maniacal type voices from people trying to be Mark Hamill basically, and that's fine and that's great. And I love Mark Hamill's voice. I've talked about it, in this episode and previous episodes. I love his voice, but it is fun to kind of hear. And like I think it was one of the Batman movies. Maybe it was The Killing Joke. No, it wasn't The Killing Joke. That was Mark Hamill. But it was one of the Batman movies where he had like a white face and longer hair, but he had a deep voice. And I like really enjoyed that version of the Joker where he's not like this, laughy, high pitched, kind of sounds like a clown, right? Type voice, and something a little different where he's a little more like this, and he's
not as flamboyant.
Yeah, and just a little more serious. But so I'm excited. I was waiting. I knew this was going to happen. Like I was like, I haven't seen the Joker this whole time, and then boom, at the very end, I was like, when it happened, I kind of expected it, right? Because that's how it did in Batman Begins. At the end, we don't see the Joker, but we know of his existence, right? And so it's just kind of that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see. I hope they don't, mess it up, but I'm excited to see how they portray the Joker and how the Joker.
How could they mess it up, you think?
Well, they could kill him. That would suck. But I don't think that's going to happen. Joker just can't be killed. At least not while Batman's around.
That's the yin and yang situation. It kind of got to coexist, Batman and
I honestly don't know how they could mess it up. But
how funny I bet it'd be funny if they come out and he like sounds like a Mad Hatter. It's like, hey guys,
it's like
I'm a cream pie Batman.
The Mad Hatter from Alice and actual, like, because there's a Mad Hatter in Batman. But anyway,
or maybe it won't really be Joker. It'll just be someone that's inspiring the future clown prince of crime, like in the Todd Phillips confirmed Joker 2. It's Arthur Fleck's never going to be the Joker that Batman faces. That's been confirmed. And now people are like, oh, I'm mad.
So
again,
like
you're not going to see Batman anyway.
Yeah, not in that Joker. Like, who cares if he's not the clown prince of crime? Like, come on. Anyway, it's interesting that the things that people get mad about with movies and shows and stuff. But I'm interested in what the hell was going on in that shed. He was just killing people with laughter medicine, whatever it was.
Experimenting.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like a dentist.
Well, what if his name is Jerome? I think that was his name in Gotham. They never called him Gotham. They never called him Joker. But
they couldn't do it. They can't name him right, like legally, right?
Yeah, there was licensing rights issues, which is crazy.
How did he get the face? Did he fall into acid? I forgot. I think he did.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But like, they killed off one of them. And then it turns out he had like a twin brother, and so he became the new one. Like that show kind of went off the rails with like aged Poison Ivy in like she did something. I forget what she did, but she was a kid like Selena Kyle in the show, and then she takes something, falls into something,
She ate her green
comes out,
vegetables.
and she came out and she's a teenager all of a sudden. It was really weird. So that's kind of why I stopped watching, because I was
She
like,
blossomed.
nice.
I was kind of looking forward to kind of like the Gotham PD show, but I think it's been canceled now. It would have, I think,
Oh, yeah.
taken place in uh, either the James Gunn universe or the Matt Reeves one, either one. But
I think it
would
was
have
the
been
Matt
interesting.
Reeves.
Matt Reeves, but it would have been interesting to see kind of a corruption, street level cops Gotham show. But then again, I mean, it might be a little bit too similar to what
Gotham.
we've seen in other
Yeah.
shows, perhaps.
Gotham is
Penguin looks fantastic, though. If we're talking about just in general shows to
Yeah.
look forward to.
Well, I was just gonna say, once that comes out, we'll have to do an episode on that, because it does look really good.
I still have a hard time believing that's Colin Farrell. Like, I know it's him, but like
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, there's no way. There's no freaking way. This is some guy, then they're saying it's Colin Farrell. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I never cared for Colin Farrell. I really, like, he was one of my least favorite actors, down there with Jake Gyllenhaal. And just like
and Lady Gaga.
And Lady Gaga is not an actress.
Lady Gaga.
She is not an actress. Bam. No. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is something. What was I talking about?
You hate
Colin
Farrell.
So I didn't care for his acting or anything, like anything I'd ever saw him in. But then freaking Batman came out, and I was like, that kind of changed my mind about him. And I also watched The Banshees of Inisherin, which was a really good movie with Colin Farrell. And so I thought he did really good in that. Of course, he gets to speak, in his Irish accent and stuff. So I don't know if that was something about that, made me like him. But I like him a lot more now, especially since the Penguin. I'm like, he just portrayed it so wonderfully. And I think that whole Matt Reeves Batman universe is just like, to me, kind of the Batman that I have been looking for. Because I do like, Christopher Nolan and Ben Affleck's and, all those Batman, but like, I don't know, this Batman universe I think is going to be really interesting because of the way he's portraying not just Batman, but portraying the Riddler and portraying Joker and villains. Yeah, it's the villains, and I'm interested to see how he portrays Hush. I don't know why Hush is the villain for this one. I don't care for Hush, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Right? There's going to be Hush in the sequel?
Batman 2. Yeah, Hush. I don't know if you know who Hush is, but he's like a mummy looking character that is I think if I'm not mistaken, it's one of Bruce Wayne's old friends that turns into a villain. I would rather have the Joker, or I don't know. Give me
I don't think we need Joker till third movie.
Yeah, give me Two-Face.
I honestly don't want Joker as a main protagonist anymore. We've had him every iteration Batman has had him as.
And he's plus already been spoiled anyway through a deleted scene.
Yeah.
Where he's talking, he already has a relationship with Batman. And
that's why I'm also Barry.
Just kind of spoiled it for me.
What's they Barry Kagan or whatever?
There's no building up.
Yeah. Well, what is his name? Barry Kogan, whatever, Saltburn guy.
Irish.
He was also in Banshees of Inisherin, who portrays him. And I don't know. I'm interested in this version of Joker, just because. I mean, I've seen
behind the scenes.
I've seen this guy's dick, so it's like, we got to watch that movie. We got to make Jake watch that movie.
No.
Saltburn. Yeah, Saltburn. Yeah,
no,
dude.
I don't.
You made us watch Cats.
I don't want to watch Nobody Fuck No Grave. Okay?
Oh man, that was probably one of the best parts.
He also plays a vampire. If you know what I mean.
You know his crotch has to itch after that. Like all the sand and the pebbles up in there.
Well, who cares? It was improvised. Yeah, it was improvised. Which is crazy to me. Like, who thinks of that? But I mean, I thought it was great. So anyway, all right. Well, we got about a few minutes left on the timer.
If you could have, what's one expectation you have of like season 2 of Caped Crusader? Like, what's one thing you wish you think could improve it immensely?
I don't know. Give us another. I would like to see some more detective work from Batman.
more Batman focused show.
Yeah. I mean, there was a little bit in this one, and it was great. But I would like we talked about. I enjoy the detective version of Batman. Like that doesn't bother me. So I would like to see some more detective work from Batman.
All right, more detective work.
I would like to see more nuance. I hope the next season. I know they won't. I hope the next season gives them some more episodes, and they're able to give villains. They're able to give their villains
Calendar Man.
They give him like good motivations. They actually give him a chance to shine. Don't kill him off the same episode.
Need more episodes, I guess.
Yeah, more episodes, and just find ways to make the motivations feel real.
What about you, Zach?
Again, I was just out of 10, I'd say like a 7.5. So I was quite content and enjoyed it, but it felt a little surface level. And the music wasn't really enjoyable. And I wasn't a big fan of the villain of the week for the most part format. But I'm just hoping that there's more episodes to flesh characters out, relationships, and have more of a focus on Bruce Wayne and Batman, and have him not just appear in the middle of other characters, what they're doing. Like, I want to see it more from his perspective.
You guys like my new background on my phone? I just did it while we were talking.
Let me guess, Ben Affleck.
It does look like Ben Affleck, but I like the whole aesthetic. It was like originally it was
White Eyes Batman.
It almost looks like Superman.
It does kind of
silhouette.
Well,
so
it was originally
listening. Batman. Justin is showing us what I assume is an AI generated picture.
Well, I just Googled it
from magicpro.com, whatever that website.
Okay, so he's definitely showing us an AI generated photo.
It's a
illustration of Batman Affleck pseudo.
It does look like Affleck. I like Affleck's suit is my favorite suit.
So quickly, what do you guys prefer, white eyes or no white eyes for like the DCU Batman live action? Do you think he should have white eyes or no? Or do you think the only
live action? Oh no, I think live action he shouldn't have white eyes. For animation that's fine, but like
Deadpool has it.
I mean, it's like Wolverine? And so does Wolverine. And I thought it was weird on Wolverine. On Deadpool it looks fine, but on Wolverine's mask I thought it was kind of weird. I don't know. The white eyes thing is good for Deadpool, but also for animation. Like it's like Batman Beyond and Terry what is his name? Terry McGinnis. Like McGinnis, thank you. Like I like his suit and his white eyes, and even there's some iterations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they have white eyes, and I like those. It's just not cool. I don't care for white eyes for live action stuff.
I'm glad you specified because I thought you said wide eyes. And I was like, are they high or are they just just permanent surprise expression?
They're just ready to go.
I think they might go for white eyes. You know, James Gunn's going for the more fantastical route that I know, Justin, you're not looking forward to.
No, I like the brooding Batman, brooding DC.
Yeah, we're gonna get Superman saving cats, saving kids. We've already seen the behind the scenes. He's wearing the trunks. We're going back to good old Boy Scout Superman.
I guess we'll find out.
That's great. It'll only make it all the better when he falls.
All right. Awesome. Well, this is a good discussion. Thank you for listening to us ramble about Batman, the Caped Crusader. I enjoyed the show for the most part. There were things, of course, that could have been changed, but whatever. That's why we're not
between okay, good, great. How would you say? Would you say good?
I'd say good. I'd say good. Yeah, good.
I would say okay.
Yeah, I would say good because there were things I really liked about it. Certain scenes and stuff I really, really enjoyed that really sucked me in. But then there was stuff that I was like, all right, I can do without this. So, okay, cool. Well, that's a wrap for Batman the Caped Crusader. Thank you for listening to us. And if you want to talk to us, hit us up, give us ideas for episode, you can hit us up on any social medias. And you can also check us out on the popular places you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that. So thank you for listening. And Jake,
have a fantastic day.
Tune in next same bat time.
Same bat channel, same bat time. Bye.